Hello. Welcome to the end of aging and premature death. This is the era, the generation that has every opportunity to now end the pandemic plague that mankind has called aging from the beginnings of our recorded history. It's been called aging, it's been called death. These sad terms we have had to develop to point to someone no longer existing. Well, this generation, this era has the opportunity to end this disease. Generations past could have ended it. 100 years ago, 200 years ago, could have ended the disease. We now have the pandemic plague that we call the Sensonic plague, and the Sensonic plague is what we originally named it. But we can call it either one, the Sensonic plague or the Sensonic plague. The great SENS Foundation and its great founder, Dr. Aubrey de Grey, gives us the thought of calling it the Sensonic plague due to the many acids made in the human body. But there was one man back in the 1920s who discovered the means and the way aging attacks the body so strongly. We're attacked from hundreds of ways by this infection, but there's a massive attack taking place inside the gut of mankind. Through the skin, through our breathing, through our foods we eat, there's a massive attack taking place. What Andre Grada discovered in 1920, he called colon sins, and went on to call bacteriocins. He first discovered E. coli made a near perfect chemical to kill its near relatives, its near strain, or near exact likeness with poisons that the other microbes considered to be good for them. The microbes considered this to be good for them at first, so they took it deep into their cell, deep into their single cell, and it became part of their organs, part of their body, because they thought it was one of the nutrients, one of the proteins, one of the foods they needed, and it turns out it was a deep attack of a Trojan horse by E. coli. E. coli attacking eukaryotes that's similar to it in structure. Eukaryotes, all eukaryotes except for plants, are basically made on the same structure as man and each animal on earth. Our eukaryotic cells are made basically with the same structure, the same type of organelles and the like. But E. coli had developed a way to kill other bacteria, and that's what we are made by. Not bacteria, we are made by microbes, small microbic life forms that I say E. coli and other bacteria stole the DNA plans, the DNA development of each single cell before they had created man, stole the genome of the microbic life forms that finally developed mankind. But E. coli developed humanosins to kill the cells that make up our body, the eukaryotic cells that make up our body, are killed each day singularly, but we have a system that replaces these cells the day long, but still our cells are dying due to a secret attack by E. coli, by Pseudomonas aeruginosa, by mycobacteria. They are attacking us in a very sinister way. They're making our body think that they have made things that are good for us, things that our body needs to grow, things that our body needs to be strong. Very unusual, but that is the exact thing they're doing. Our body is made up of billions of cells, but our body is designed by those cells, created by those cells, and made to function like those cells. We have the organelles in our gut, has a series of locks and borders that must be crossed, and things have to identify themselves, or our immune system will attack these things as best they can. 75% of the immune system is in the gut, doing all it can to protect us from the microbes coming in and from the humanosens coming in. Anything that's trying to look like something that would help us, but is in reality a Trojan horse that holds within it the likes of the beings that Walter Gilbert received a Nobel Prize for theorizing into being, the LUCA and the RNA world, which is actually the nanobacteria. Science has proven that nanobacteria has RNA in it, and LUCA, that to come before nanobacteria, has to be a small energy-like life form, very minute, but it comes in through the cells that it develops, such as E. coli, Pseudomonas aeruginosa. It evolved. LUCA evolved into nanobacteria, then evolved into RNA world, DNA world, where they had a DNA that they could now replicate their RNA at will. Doing these things, they evolved into other microbes, E. coli, Pseudomonas aeruginosa, mycobacteria. There's been scientists in the past, in the 40s, that actually witnessed nanobacteria turn into fungus, turn into these things. So, LUCA to RNA world, which is nanobacteria, into the many strains of bacteria and microbes we see on Earth today. But they attack mankind by the hordes. Here we are, the single cell of life called mankind, the eukaryotic system that I say the microbes that built us had their plans stolen, is what finally brought about eukaryotes such as E. coli. Our plans, the DNA, the RNA, the genome of the microbe that eventually built mankind. Science has proclaimed this for many years now, that we must accept that we rose up from microbes, and they are more than correct because it's proven every day. Man having relations with his girlfriend, his wife, they bring forth life by injecting one another with microbes, with sperm first, the microbe, then it gets into the amazing egg of woman and comes forth as stem cells and takes the genome of woman, the 23 from woman, the 23 from man, and then they start building life inside that egg, and they come forth, these microbes building us from a microbe. So religion can argue with it the day long if they like. Science even tries to deny that we are microbes ourselves. We are built by microbes. We rose up from microbes. We are billions of microbes holding together a structure that can function and do things as a band of microbes. We made this microbic life form. Man was built by microbes. So E. coli discovered a way to confuse the body of mankind, which is a eukaryotic microbe. All the billions of cells made up in our body are confused because E. coli has sent in humanosens, bacteriosens that enter us, and we think it's something good for our body to use, and does actually fit into the locks of the body, fit into the DNA, fit into the growth of the body, and becomes part of the body. But then is that particular form of the nutrients, of the proteins, whatever the case may be, becomes that breaks the body down decades later. It helps the body momentarily. Then suddenly the body realizes we have got an intruder. We have a violator. We have a substance in here that has become a destroyer, a decomposer. I have told men, and I said so rightly, that we have a decomposer disease that comes in on the most minute scale. Subnano, subatomic. This literally starts on the very microbic existence of energy and life. Comes into the body and becomes a destroyer. Starts breaking down the body to where we age and finally drop and stop and we die. Here are some of the humanosens that E. coli makes. Now, mankind knows we need vitamin K1 from our foods in nature. They understand this. And everything we need, we can eat in our correct foods in nature. There are some things we could grow and eat. No matter how we process it, it will finally kill us with aging because it has this stuff in its very structure that cannot be removed. But we know we need vitamin K1, but E. coli and other bacteria make different types of vitamin K2. The structure is different. The metabolite to get them into the building, to get them into the structure, to get them into the created body, developed body that was grown and built by microbes, to get them in, they have to have the metabolite be exact. But then after the metabolite, they drag in variables and other hydrocarbons and so on, that hydrogen-carbon links that come in, and as science knows, the number and amount of certain elements is what causes certain chemicals to be this, certain elements to be that. It changes the structure of every chemical thing in science, but yet science decided it's okay for E. coli to bring in these variables and to bring in these carbons and hydrogens linked to that vitamin K1, linked to the vitamin K2, excuse me, and they feel it's no problem. But it is a terrible problem. It is what they did to bacteria under microscopes. It's what they do to the bacteria under microscopes. We've seen them die. They stop after they've been infected by the bacteria. They stop because the bacteria within them made bacteriocins, made it out in the area around them, and made it after they got inside of them. Bacteriocins. But these bacteriocins, as science has found, is so often some substance that is almost identical to what that particular bacterial cell needs to exist. So they make it just almost exact chemical formula of what that bacteria needs, but then they bring in variables. They bring in different elements that they can, after they get inside, they can start building other compounds. They can start restructuring things because they brought with them some supplies to destroy that microbe. Each microbe of our body dies of old age during our day. Well, I'm standing here, I have cells dying, but our body has a system of replacing it so this structure can keep standing, so this biological machine, man, so this biological life form, man, can keep functioning. We have a system to where the cells replicate, they replace. Every time one dies, it's replaced. Then as we know, when we get older, that system starts breaking down, can no longer make telomeres, it can no longer do certain things to express genes, and suddenly the body dies, and then the bacteria burst from it, identically in the method that they burst from bacteria to destroy bacteria. They sicken it with bacteriocins that are almost identical to the substance they need so they can become part of that bacteria. Then they burst forth after the bacteria dies from the poisons, and they eat that bacteria. Same thing with man. They burst forth from our gut, our stomach. Our stomach is like the main nucleus of all bacteria. The bacteria have their own nucleus. Excuse me, I say bacteria, the microbes of the body. They have their own nucleus. But our gut, our body, acts as a main nucleus. We only let in what is supposed to be good for the body, then it goes to the cells. But our gut has been failing in the fact that humanosins have been made to kill mankind. What is bacteriocins? When killing bacteria, when killing the cells and the life form called man, it is humanosins. These humanosins, again, come in the form of vitamin K2, come in the form of glycerol 3-phosphate, which has to do with all of our muscles, our energy production, everything. Science is amazed. They say bacteria pump out glycerol 3-phosphate the day long, and they're so wonderful for doing it. No. Our body makes certain sources of that same compound, of that same chemical formula, and we find some of it in nature as we eat our foods. But anything E. coli makes to send into us is a humanosin, to kill the body. That is aging. What mankind is called symbiosis and good for mankind, they're witnessing the disease, the Sensonic plague taking place in the body, the Sensonic plague taking place in the body. They're witnessing it under a microscope, right before our eyes now for centuries, but because scientists in the past said that it was good for us, it has developed into that text in our textbooks that, hey, that's great for us, that's good for us. No, what they've literally witnessed is what Andre Grata discovered in 1920, which was bacteriocins to destroy singular cell microbes underneath microscopes and in nature. And what humanosins do is kill our single cells in our body the day long. They take in a substance that the body, the main nucleus of the body, the intestines, allowed to come into the bloodstream, allowed to come into the body and muscles. They take it into each cell. They say, okay, this is here to help us here. This is here to help us grow. Let's use this chemical. And then suddenly they find they have a monster in their midst. They have something that came in that's now breaking them down. But science cannot detect it because they didn't ever see a man that had never been infected before. If we had in science men and women that we was able to examine before this plague took place, but this plague is in every life form, every eukaryotic life form, and many others, even prokaryotic, many life forms that on a microbic scale and in the physical realm of animals, even plants, these things are making things that come in disguised as helpers, disguised as nutrients, disguised as proteins. They take it in and suddenly they're infected and they're dying. If we could have looked upon a man or a woman without this infection and it were 1,000 years old, and we say, well, yeah, that's an amazing being, then all of a sudden we witness him dying, and science is looking for that plague, and science starts examining under a microscope, they would say, look here, we've got some changes took place here. Let's stop this right here. We found the infection. But they don't have a uninfected man or woman or child that's ever been in existence, so they've never been able to examine this. But we know we're eukaryotic cells. We know that we are built by eukaryotic cells. We know that Andre Grata discovered that eukaryotic microbes in battle and killing one another and eating one another, they make bacteriocins which secretly come in and destroy that single microbe. We're dying each day and getting older because thousands of our cells are dying each day. And then they have to be replaced. And when they're replaced, because of these humanosins that came into the body, the next cell after them is replacing them is just so slightly different because this matter is starting to make its way deep into the body, into every genome, into every gene, which I'm going to show you here, how they make it into every gene of the body. And finally, they take over the body, make us decrepit, make us decompose while we're living, which we call decrepitness. We call aging, the gray hair, the broken down muscles, the skin deteriorating right on our very body. We call that just getting old and happens to everything. No, that is the Sensonic plague. That is the Sensonic plague. That is humanosins. Andre Grata discovered bacteriocins, which are identically made as humanosins. Humanosins are made to replicate and look like something we need in the body, but it's made by our enemy, the Sensonic plague, the Sensonic plague, our enemy, the disease that has been aging and killing mankind now since our recorded history. Mankind is amazing. His science is amazing. If mankind would have ever been able to see one man, one woman, one child that did not have this disease, that was hundreds of years old, examine that person, say that's amazing, and be that person themselves, then all of a sudden they notice everybody dying. Then they immediately look under the microscopes of today and they say, there is the bastard, there is the killer, there is the Sensonic plague, let's stop it. There was a man back in the early 1900s, Eli Michnikov. If he would have been in control of the making of textbooks, he would have installed in textbooks a discovery that he felt he made very dramatically, that he felt that there was a very minute helping maybe of bacteria, symbiosis of bacteria and mankind. He said, but what he felt truly was that bacteria was what causes us to age over 100 years ago. If he would have made the textbooks, if he would have been the main author of biology textbooks, this day would be a different story. The great Eli Michnikov. The humanisms come in the form, I say again, K2, glycerol 3-phosphate, vitamin B12s. They make 3 or 4 different forms of vitamin B12 that we get from our foods in nature, but they make them as humanosins to enter our body and go deep into our structure. They've made all these humanosins, as stated by the National Institute of Health of America. They state that all the vitamins that bacteria make in the gut, and they say they feel like it might help us. They don't know. But then they immediately state, but we get all this in our diet. They make the amazing conclusion, which is made by Eli Michnikov long ago, before he even knew everything they made. He said, these little bastards are killing us here. And the National Institute of Health in America states all the vitamins that they make, and then says, but you know, we get all that from our diet. If we have a regular diet, we can get that. Now, naturally, science has discovered that we don't get a regular diet always. Those people that do not get a regular diet are not the healthiest of human beings. But the last thing they need is E. coli helping them. The last thing they need is Pseudomonas aeruginosa helping them. The last thing they need is mycobacteria helping them and feeding them anything, because it has become in humanosin at that point. What was a bacterial sin against our cell is a humanosin against mankind. Against man, against woman, the humanosins come into the main nucleus, which is our gut, absorb through our gut, and then poison every cell of our body. The humanosins made by E. coli, by Pseudomonas aeruginosa, come into our body and become part of the structure we call the Homo Sapiens. The species of life, the Homo Sapiens, is poisoned along with every animal, every plant on earth by sinister microbes such as E. coli and mycobacteria and fungus and the like. Here's one that is so disturbing when you look upon it, so visually awakening when you look upon it. You understand that these are humanosins, bacteriocins, destroying our body and becoming literally part of our structure. Science says that we're outnumbered 10-1 by the bacteria. But when we include LUCA, the energy, nanobacteria that science has found permeates our body and our bone, our teeth, our skin, and you add in there all of the different microbes, we are outnumbered 50-1. But that shows you how strong the positive energy of our body is. That shows you how strong the microbe that made man is. They can withstand this massive attack and keep producing themselves over and over again to keep this structure alive. That is the power and strength of this system. And that same system is what's going to allow us to be now healed and cured of this horrible pandemic plague called aging and premature death, called the Sensonic plague, the Sensonic plague. Riboflavin. Riboflavin is an amazing vitamin. It's absolutely amazing. Riboflavin is found in our foods in nature. The National Institute of Health declares that we get riboflavin out of nature. We get plenty of riboflavin if we eat the proper diet. What takes place with riboflavin? It goes throughout the entire structure of the body. E. coli, the bacteria that science knows that if it gets control of the gut of a small child, that child dies of a disease caused by E. coli. If a young adult, if in his body, in his gut, in his main nucleus of his body, the gut, if E. coli gets control, it causes a disease that kills them, if not for the amazing creation of mankind called science. But when you look and see beings such as that making these poisons that they disguised as vitamins we need, you immediately realize that, my God, this has been taking place right before our eyes. We have all the data necessary to understand the disease that we have. Pseudomonas aeruginosa. Science knows that if it gets control of the body in our youth, in our old age, in our middle age. It destroys us, it kills us. But yet, in the midst of all that, they decide that Pseudomonas is trying to get along a little bit because it makes vitamins in our gut and it's trying to live in symbiosis. If we'll just not let it take over, which it eventually does, science has proven that the ubiquitous, they state that Pseudomonas aeruginosa is ubiquitous, a killer. It is 9 times or 99 times out of 100, probably, the final killer of all human beings in hospitals, in their homes, whatever the case may be, causing death. Pseudomonas aeruginosa, trying to get along with no one, just making poisons to cause us to get old, to cause our cells to be weak, to where they can give us flus, pneumonias, making weak cells in our body because they're in there. They become part of the structure. Without these humanosins becoming part of our bodies, these things that science calls vitamins and different structures, which are actually Trojan horses coming in and becoming part of our body to break us down and destroy us from within. Without them, we, our cells, are powerful and they do not die daily. They would live for years. Each single cell made, a new cell made, would live for many years instead of dying each day. We would be strong, growing, powerful beings. But let's get back to riboflavin. Riboflavin is the most horrible of humanosins. Comes into the human body and becomes part of our very genes. When riboflavin comes into the body from nature, it breaks down and it becomes a 5-carbon sugar called ribose. Enters our body and becomes part of our gene system, part of the RNA, the DNA of our body, the deep inner workings of our cell. But when the riboflavin of E. coli gets involved, it's slowly but surely taking over that cell. Over years and years of mankind being infected, finally, E. coli has made enough to where it's coming there and it's become the majority of the ribose that made up the cells of the body. It finally took over those chromosomes, which each time they replicate, they're replicating as they see in viruses, where we replicate the viruses with some of our genes. They come in and pirate our genes to help make their viruses. The same thing with E. coli. Gets down inside the gene. Finally, over years of building up this secretive energy, this secretive matter, this secretive vitamin, this secret chemical substance. When it becomes the majority, then we start getting old and dying and decaying, and the cells can no longer reproduce because that riboflavin of E. coli has come in. The very structure of our body, they have become part of it. The genes that make up our body, they are bringing in a humanosin that goes down on the smallest structure, the genes of our body, and becomes part of it and kills us. Now, as you see, I pointed out how we're being killed with old age. I have here a system I call the Gerivify algorithm that I've also found in science that was just sitting there for me to grab it. It was just sitting there in books. The history of man for thousands of years to this day, different parts of that history, different parts of that science, there was the way in which we can heal ourselves of this disease. Amazing. The Gerivify algorithm, I have named it. It is what eventually becomes a 4-step process. In the beginning, it's just a 3-step process, but the 4th step of this process is an amazing situation. This process, especially in the young children born, we start our children on the Gerivify algorithm. Excuse me, I forgot to turn my phone off here. Let's turn that on. The Gerivify algorithm is a 4-step process, and as I state, it is a process to where the 4th stage is absolutely amazing. But the first 3 steps of the process will bring young children, young adults, into a healthy, powerful being that is no longer aging and can exist into centuries. Those who have already aged, like myself and other men, this same system will rejuvenate our body. The fourth system, the fourth stage of the system, actually will take us into many centuries. It is a major project, the fourth stage of this. The first three stages is a major project, but the fourth stage is absolutely major, a very lengthy, drawn-out process we have to go through, and different machinery and things we have to develop, which I know the machinery we have to create here. But the Gerivify algorithm, the first three stages, is to begin to go in and fight the death set up in us. We could stop taking in this right now, and it's already in our body. It's hiding throughout our body. We breathe it in each day. It comes in through our liquids, through the air we breathe, the water, the liquids, our foods we eat, the things we touch. This disease comes into our body in hundreds of ways. But if we can stop some of the major attacks, the body is strong enough to say, okay, I can handle this. Now let me deal with this within the body. If we can heal the blood system, the gene system, the stem cell system, which my Gerivify algorithm will do that. And the body finally says, you know what, I know there's still some of this getting through this system, but I can take care of them, and I can also rebuild this body. Right now, to also show us that this is not a symbiosis we're living in here, if the body feels the bacteria are living with us in symbiosis, why is 75% of the immune system in the gut of mankind doing everything it can to keep our good friends, E. coli, Pseudomonas aeruginosa, mycobacteria, all of the bacteria, to keep them out of our system? If they're so good for us, why does the body have to work the day long to fight them? We relieve the body of some of that battle. We take on that battle ourselves. We become part of that. We say, man should in every way look at this as a very personal event taking place. As I state, as science knows, we are eukaryotic cells. We are billions of cells that operate as one. That's the only way you can look at it. We're all for one, one for all in the body. We are billions of cells that act as one together. But there are single microbes out there that are attacking us. They're like coming up and saying, I'm going to take your place here. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to eat you. We're supposed to say, no, I'm going to take you. I'm going to kill you. We're supposed to take this extremely, extremely personal, because this is the battle of life against aging and premature death. We're dying at the greatest age of 100 years old. Many dying in their teens. They're all these things. I've seen young people near me that just kills me. They go in the hospital and they die of diseases, and it's caused by these humanocins weakening their body, and it's caused by these bacteria attacking it. We're supposed to take this extremely personal, because we were developed long ago, as we are each day when we make love to our woman. A eukaryotic cell comes forth and builds another eukaryotic life form inside the body of woman, because mankind, the eukaryotic cell, injected her with his love, and we build another eukaryotic life form. And there's other beings that I say stole our design years ago that science calls eukaryotic life forms, but I say they are false pseudo life forms that stole our genome to where they could start making things to kill us and start getting inside our system. They are coming and attacking us and killing us, saying, I am a microbe, you are a microbe, I'm going to kill you. It's like in an army, in a war, we're in the battlefield, and suddenly a man comes up and says, I am not with you, I want to kill you. Same thing with these microbes. They design themselves similar to our structure, and then they come up and say, I'm coming in and I'm going to kill you. And they've been killing people all over the earth since our recorded history. It's time we look these cowards in the face that sneak into our body and destroy our single cells, attack our innocent single cells that make up our skin, our muscle, our blood veins, our legs, our bones, everything. Innocently living, and then death and aging comes to visit. When a man, woman, or child is born, they are born very pure. When a child dies, it takes them many months, we can say many weeks, to deteriorate. When an older person dies, they deteriorate within days. They start breaking down within days. That is because these humanosens have took over so much part of the cells. That is because the adult is so much more full of the bacterial strains that make colonies within our body, within the cell system of our body, and become part of our structure. I say we end this. I say we end this disease. It's humanosens that are killing us. Andre Grata discovered the way in 1920 how bacteria is killing us. Eli Michnikov said they're killing us, they're aging us. Hippocrates, centuries ago, said every disease begins in the gut. It is time we take the knowledge we have and use it, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rodney Berry. I look for partners. I look for investors. I look for promoters. I look for funds. I'm asking for funds right now in a fundraiser that is floundering on Indiegogo. I ask for your help, ladies and gentlemen. I need fellow soldiers in this battle of life against aging and death. I reach out to the great men and women in science to now join me, and investors, promoters, venture capitalists. Every system on earth needs to join in on this because it's that massive of a problem and it's that big of a situation. My name is Rodney Berry. Welcome to the era of the end of aging and death. Thank you very much.